Well, thank you all for coming out and joining us. My name is Kyle Berger. I'm the Chief Technology Officer in Grapevine-Colleyville ISD. And I have a great panel here of some of our collegiate esports programs to kind of toss some questions out to. First, we want to kind of give everybody a chance to talk a little bit about their program, and then we're going to dive into some questions. And be thinking if you have anything you would like to ask, because we have some Q&A time at the end that we'll toss it out to the team, all right? So we'll start first with Alex Rocha. Alex is the student president for University of Texas Arlington Esports program. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your program?
Yeah, so this one on. So UTA Esports has existed for around 10 years now. Historically, it's always been the student organization running everything. Now, in this past September, we announced our varsity program partnered under Campus Rec. And so they'll be in charge of our top 3 teams in Overwatch, League of Legends, and Rocket League. The student organization still runs all of the events that we do. We typically do 4 LAN events per semester and weekly Smash tournaments. And so a lot of what we do is just trying to engage with the community and the general student body.
Awesome, very good. Our next panelist is Aaberg. Eric is from the University of Texas, Dallas, and is the student director for esports there, correct?
Yes, that is correct. So my name's Eric. We are the athletic esports team at the University of Texas at Dallas. We're actually the 14th athletic team at UTD, so we're part of the athletic department. We work just like any other athletic team, having required practices, things like that. We have a total of 4 games currently, which is Overwatch, League of Legends, Smash Ultimate, and Rocket League. We just started in the fall of 2017, and we're just super excited to go from there. Oh, fall of 2018.
Esports is a blur, man. It just goes like crazy, so awesome. Thanks for being here, Eric. Next up is Austin Espinoza. Austin is from the University of Texas, Austin, and is the president of Longhorm Gaming.
Hello. So Longhorm Gaming has been around for about 10 years also. We've been a student organization originally called TESPA, Texas Esports Association, before we rebranded a few years ago. Now we are focusing on our Overwatch and League of Legends teams as a student org, but we definitely are trying to break into a varsity program status, and we're as close as we've ever been, or closer than we've ever been.
Awesome. Thanks, Austin. Appreciate you being here. And then next up at the end there is Dylan Wray. Dylan is from the University of North Texas. Dylan's a coordinator of esports there, correct? Tell us a little bit about the program there, Dylan.
Yeah, so at UNT, we have a varsity program that's located in the recreational sports department. We offer $20,000 in scholarships for our 4 official teams that represent the university: Overwatch, League of Legends, Hearthstone, and Rocket League. And we've been in existence since spring of 2018.
Awesome, very good. A lot of great established programs here to learn about. Let's start off with kind of talking about comparing what the esports program is compared to like traditional sports on campus. Kind of toss that out there if somebody wants to kind of take a stab at that.
We're a lot newer.
There you go.
No, I think with, if you want to compare it to a traditional sport model, traditional athletics has been around for many years, and so they have a huge leg up on esports as a business model. So they know how to stamp, brand, and market the product that is traditional athletics for a university. Esports is so new that we have to get very creative when we think about like what is our metrics that we can use to attract sponsors. What are things that we can do to appeal to a wide, broad audience and create that culture that people want to come to your university and cheer on your League of Legends team, where it's already just assumed that when you go to university, you're going to cheer on their football team or their basketball team. So our programs have to get creative to, kind of create that culture of people looking to cheer on an Overwatch team or get, really excited about like going to a Super Smash championship. That's very fresh and very new, I think, for the esport community.
Absolutely.
I feel like on the player side of things, esports is actually very similar to traditional sports, and a lot of people don't realize that. All of our team members on the varsity teams, that like Eric said, they have scheduled practices. They'll, scrim against other universities or strategize together. At UTA, we're building out workout routines to help them stay active. And like, traditional sports teams, there'll be scholarships along the way very soon. And then on the club side of things, the student organization kind of runs the teams like your typical intramurals or club sports. So they really exist to be able to offer that opportunity to experience competitive gaming without the high expectations of varsity. And we do this so that we can kind of maintain the high level of gameplay while also not gatekeeping esports from the wider community.
Absolutely.
I think for UTD specifically, we are very structured, just like all the other athletic teams at UTD. Being under the athletic department, I mean, we even go to the NCAA meetings, which is really funny. It's really
Some
cool.
strange looks with
Yes.
that. Yeah.
We're like, this isn't directly applied to us, but it's really cool to see the support from just the other student athletes about esports because it's just so new. I mean, UTD as an institution is only 50 years old, so it's really cool to see administration pushing forward for innovation.
Something I kind of wanted maybe some of these varsity programs here to like chime in on is exactly what the recruitment process kind of goes into, or what goes into that, because I feel like for student organizations like Longhorm Gaming, we have a hard time kind of like competing, even though we have a ton of students to choose from to compete for us. A lot of these other schools are getting scholarships or having enough recognition to recruit and have players come in to play traditional sport games like NBA 2K or something, or Rocket League or Overwatch or League of Legends or whatever. But we would love to hear maybe how that recruitment process works out.
Absolutely. I think along that with the recruiting is, I think you talk a little bit about, someone wants to talk about the opportunities that come from being involved in the collegiate program with esports altogether.
So for recruiting, in a sense, I mean, we obviously push out marketing tons to students on campus. We really try to, I mean, the talent's there at UTD. We're a really techie, nerdy, special, unique type of culture, and we love it. So when we started our program, we captured all of the talent on campus because we know it's there. When we added Rocket League, we got a lot of people from the Rocket League club that was already there. And so for right now, currently, we are just kind of doing word of mouth, especially with people that are just looking at universities in state. And I mean, you're going to college for a degree, so people are going to look at that first and then be like, oh, they have an esports team? That's great. But moving forward in the future, hopefully that will change.
I'd like to touch up on the aspect that you brought up about just general opportunity, because I think that's always been really important for us at UTA Esports. Like Eric said, there's always going to be the talent there from the student body in general. But one of the things that we face at UTA is that, a lot of other schools will tend to have a structure with their esports where like there's one central body that kind of like helps run every other club that's already on campus. But at UTA, everything's under our one club. Our one UTA student organization runs every single game, every single community. So it's a little bit harder to kind of like incentivize each of those games, each of those players to want to compete for us. And so the strategy that we ended up using was focusing on the community and just like the connection between all of our members, not so much making sure that we had the best teams or the best players, but making sure that everyone felt like UTA was a place they wanted to represent, that somewhere that they felt they were at home and that they could go, and even if they didn't win, they wanted to put in the work to represent the school. And so I think esports is just a really great place to be able to offer the opportunities for students to test out their skills and spread their wings and really just find out what they're good at, what they enjoy in general.
Absolutely.
To comment on the recruitment side of things, I think because esports is so new, and still even new in our program, I think a lot of programs are doing is just working on their program in general. So it's something that we're proud of, and if we're proud of it, maybe you want to be a part of what we're doing. And so I think a lot of infrastructure is being laid out for us, at least, to provide adequate support for our team members and for our players, and so that there's paid positions for the staff members that help support our program. And I think that's kind of a lot of our program's collective main priority. But don't get me wrong, we do actively want to be a part of the recruiting process. And so internally at UNT, like we're looking at our admissions department, and so they know whenever a little red flag pops up, like, oh, this guy just mentioned Overwatch, let's get him to talk to Dylan. And so creating that infrastructure so that we cast the widest net possible for people to potentially be a recruit to our program. And so once you have official university support across various departments, you can tap into resources like recruitment or and other departments on campus, as well well as like marketing and things like that. So that really helps out. But for us, Collegiate Esports isn't at that point where we could, talk to a whole bunch of high school coaches and ask them, what is your best player? Which, if there's any high school programs that are out there, that's the dream, in the future. If you all can get to that point and we can create that relationship, I think that's where we want to grow it and see it as traditional sport recruiting. But until then, it's really just going to be a lot of marketing, a lot of word of mouth. We have a digital application right now for our next year that students can go to and see if they meet our requirements for the various teams that they might be interested in, and that's kind of where we are right now. But I think in time it's going to develop and grow into something a lot bigger and a lot better.
Speaking on that, especially for marketing, I think social media, especially Twitter, is literally the hub for esports and gamers. We've had so many high school students and prospective students find out about us from just our Twitter, because you're at tournaments, you're at events, you get sponsors, and these brands are retweeting you, they're sharing you, and these students just see, whoa, these guys in cool jerseys are like doing this for a college? That's so cool. So definitely social media is a great way for you to advertise your program.
Absolutely, and I know from the DFW market perspective, we have high school programs throughout the Metroplex, and a lot of us are looking towards these colleges, and those partnerships are growing. And it's a real exciting future, I think, for what we're going to see in the coming years. So besides the athlete, what other types of positions and things do y'all have? Y'all mentioned marketing. I'm assuming y'all have streamers and things of that aspect too in your collegiate program.
Yeah, so we have tons of student staff that help us with our program. Our program would not be here where it is today without student staff. I'm a student staff too, so it's really helpful for students to really be able to find their passion and then find out what they're good at, because I came into this position, I remember filling out the Google form and being like, assistant coach, I'm not good enough to be on the teams, but I'll go for that. And then I found out I was good at a lot of these things. So it was really cool to see how I was able to help the program as well as grow my professional skills. So we have analysts, which help out as like a coach or something like that you'd think of like at football games and things like that. It'd be like the coach on sidelines with a playbook. Basically, our analysts create presentations, they create guidelines. All right, this is what you're supposed to do. This is the map that you're supposed to do. It's crazy stuff. They use a lot of data from these games to help them really improve their skills. We also have team managers, which help us find scrims and kind of organize the teams as well as that. And then we do have a stream team manager, so we actually have a stream team program. So one of the things that we've been working on is kind of like focusing on the community at UT Dallas, and there's a lot of content creators. Like I saw someone recently graduate from UTD and they had over 150,000 followers on Twitter. I was like, what? That's crazy. So things like that. And then just a few other student staff that really help us out with events and things like that.
So for UT, we're completely student-run as a student organization, and we have tons and tons of students that always are interested in being a part of our program, but also slowly they're trying to understand what exactly goes into the back end of keeping our program alive and keeping our club thriving. So we've originally only had a handful of directors that would kind of take on hundreds of jobs at once, which would be terrible in the longer run of things, and a couple of us up here have kind of already felt that. And when you have, say, a competitive director role, a team manager role, a player role for A or B team or C team, you get really quickly overwhelmed. So now, coming into my second semester as president, we've kind of started to transition the org and show the administrators and faculty and staff at UT that a lot of back-end work and a lot of people power and hours get put into these orgs to make them a quasi-business. And we have pretty much every aspect of a business you can think of, with like a full operation team, marketing team, or creative team that are doing a lot of work behind the scenes to keep these things going. And I'm really loving that a lot of these students are coming out and being put in positions that they never would have been put in before, and learning tons of leadership skills, business skills, and maybe they won't be looked upon as seriously as they should when they say they were a creative director for a student organization, but they still come away with an incredible amount of experience.
I think for Sure, I can kind of relate to what Austin's saying there, because like I said before, UTA Esports for the past pretty much 10 years has existed just like Longhorns as a purely student organization. We were a completely student run. Only recently did we release the varsity program, and there's a lot more that goes into an esports program than most people really tend to realize. And I think like if you think about it, like Eric said, there's content creation, there's team managers, there's a lot of financial decisions that go into running events, and our students do all that, you know. And like I said, event coordination, you know, there's actual industry jobs that you can go into just from learning that. And like my peers here have said, marketing is a big part of that. And when you're running as a student organization, all those kids, they're coming in fresh and they're learning these skills. And the fact that our name got big enough for the school to back us, like that was all student work. So there's a lot of opportunity there for people to kind of find out what they're good at and develop their skills. And I think, like Austin said, I think it does need to be taken more seriously, because it translates directly into the industry. And a lot of people don't notice that.
So to talk about something just kind of similar but different in a varsity program, you know, or transitioning from a club to a varsity program, I think the interesting thing is that a lot of the club activity looks very similar in a varsity program, but now you're getting paid for what you're doing, which for a lot of people is very exciting. So, you know, what we did is we recognized, you know, that UNT, there was a club, there's been a club there for, you know, over 5 years, and, you know, their passion and dedication is super strong and a super awesome work that they've done. And so we decided to capitalize on some of the awesome work that those students are doing and offer paid positions for our competitive program. So I oversee the general infrastructure of the program, but I have 4 staff members that more or less oversee the program, and they are students. So this is an incredible opportunity for them to get management experience, to you know, get coaching experience, to see if this is really, you know, a career that they want to do post-graduation. And so that's kind of the point of college, is to learn about, you know, what you can do and what you want to do. And so Collegiate Esports really kind of fits that niche of experimentation and learning, and that's a huge focus for us.
I think what I've noticed at the high school and the collegiate level is it's a very collaborative between a lot of colleges. How important is it to talk between clubs or organizations and colleges to develop your program, and is that important and has been a factor in y'all's growth?
I think definitely going forward, it's one of the things that I want to focus on. You know, within your local school, I think it's important to talk to other student organizations, because it's easy for student leadership to, or just varsity leadership in any kind of capacity, to kind of suffer from tunnel vision. You know, you may start focusing on 1 or 2 aspects too much, and, you know, by communicating with other organizations, either on campus or locally, it gives you a wider perspective to work with, makes you think of things that maybe you might not have considered before. I know, like, from schools who, you know, traditionally focused entirely on competitive, maybe the event side of things is like new to them, and it's good to be able to talk to people who have experience in those fields. And on the wider scale of things, I think it's really important, because I feel like going forward, kind of the trend of the rapid growth of esports that we've seen on an individual, like organizational level, is going to start slowing down. I feel like going forward for the next, you know, couple years, it's going to be really important to start working together, because there's only so much you can do as a single organization or program. And so working together with, like, you know, if UTD and UTA and UT and UNT all got together and did some huge event, it's going to be a lot more progress than what we've seen in the past.
I think it's mutually benefiting when you help out other universities, because no one has the exact same infrastructure as you. One, universities are set up completely different from each other. I mean, you could be under student affairs, you could be under recreational sports, or you could be under athletics. And just going from there, you can really learn, like, hey, this is what worked for us, this is what didn't work for us. And you really create these groups and networks and just honestly contacts, like, hey, like, what do you guys suggest for doing an event, and like, how did this work for you guys? And it's really cool. I think to see like this collaborative like network happening with esports that you don't see as much in traditional sports. So it's really cool. And then what's also cool is a lot of these are just students connecting with each other. So I mean, if you weren't in esports, you wouldn't really be talking to other universities. So it really opens up networks and opportunities.
You know, going off what I've said in the past is that, you know, esports is still very new. We can't really afford to be rivals. You know, we still have a lot to figure out. Esports for collegiate isn't solved yet. You know, there isn't a unifying, overarching organization that manages it like the NCAA. So you see a lot of experimentation. You see it in a lot of different departments. And you know, as we're all trying to figure out what the best model is, it doesn't really make sense for us to work against each other.
Awesome.
And on top of that, I kind of wanted to add that even last time we were up here, I kind of mentioned like everyone here when OU or A&M have like some big thing going on, like UT wants to get involved and wants to promote the event, wants to make more people know what esports is, not that we want to beat them. It's just we want more people to watch and understand and listen and learn. And that's kind of just like what we're all trying to do right now. It's to create new mutually beneficial, like progressive rivalries, if you want to call it that word. But there's a lot of really awesome things happening over the past few years of competing, where we kind of like at UTD and UT have had like a League of Legends rivalry sorta, and it's just gonna keep growing from there and create more like fun, competitive like stories.
Absolutely, and there's just a wealth of opportunity of growth in the programs and potential for our students. What do you think is one piece of advice you'd give to high school students or parents out there who, you know, their son or daughter saying, hey, I want to be in this esports thing? What's something that you would say to them, advice going towards the collegiate esports?
Keep focusing on school. I think there's only 2 universities that are out there that are offering full ride scholarships for esports. So it's not going to, you know, save you right now. Yeah. You know, we offer scholarships, but I mean, I think our students are excited that it pays for their books. You know, so it's not a substantial amount that is going to carry you away through college at the moment. Maybe someday, yeah, but not right now. And so I think that's kind of the big thing, is stay good in school, because you have to stay good in school when you're in college too. Otherwise, you can't play collegiate esports. So
I would say don't give up on your dreams, because parents, do not like shut your kids out from playing video games. Don't take it away from them. Obviously, like we said, focus on academics and reward them from playing video games. I mean, you saw the like Fortnite championship. Literally a 15-year-old or 16-year-old won $3 million, and that's just absolutely insane. It's things just even outside collegiate esports, just in the esports industry, that's just growing, and it creates these opportunities for kids that just have a passion. So it just unlocks a lot more opportunities.
I would say the biggest piece of advice I could give to anyone who's trying to get into esports in general, but specifically for collegiate esports, is to just start talking to people. Make sure you're networking, because most esports leaders, but specifically in collegiate, they just want to talk about their ideas with people. They want to talk about what they do on a day-to-day, and they generally want to find new ways to grow the scene as a whole. Like we said, collaboration is one of the biggest things for us, because you know that's how we're going to advance going forward. So just make sure you're talking to anyone in your area, anyone who could help you out, and don't be afraid to try new things. Even if you have an idea that sounds like it might be crazy, there's a good chance that someone else has been thinking about the same idea, and even if they haven't, maybe they can come up with a way to make it happen that you just haven't thought of yet. So just, I think working with everyone you can is a really important step if you want to get into it.
And I would add that there's a lot of orgs, both professional or smaller, or even like just like collegiate teams and orgs themselves have a lot of things that can be just boosted, that you can go and just like make better, or you can add to it. And since kind of esports is still so new, especially in education, there's tons of potential for you to go and increase the quality of a certain part of a program.
Absolutely. So, kind of curious, one thing we see on the high school side, what is the general makeup of y'all's organizations, both male, female, and you're seeing a lot of more female gamers?
When we first started out, I remember we had about like 17 females apply, or I guess like sign up for tryouts for Overwatch, which was great. I mean, we love to see, I mean, obviously there's a lot more males in the industry. However, we want to encourage everyone to be a part of it, because the cool thing about esports is you don't have to be athletic. It just creates a lot more opportunities that anyone can truly play the game. And just from that, I mean, we have majority guys. I think we have about 4 on our athletic side, and then we have a lot more female streamers. So content creators and things like that, we just get to find people that are just passionate about the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the makeup of our program as well. It's kind of the unspoken bad thing about esports in general, is that it's just heavily male dominated. But I think collegiate is a space in which we can make it better. And I think it's just going to take some time and some support from the program. You know, like my student staff members are moderators on our Discord channel that are there to basically stop a lot of toxic behavior that traditionally alienates women from participating in video game culture. And so I think it takes small steps like that to make it much more friendly environment. And I think it's something that's really important to a collegiate program for all the reasons that Eric had listed.
I think to bounce off that, a really benefit or like a perk of having these like established esports orgs on campus is it's a safe place for whoever to go out there to game. As you said, there's Discord moderators. We have a safe server community and just space for students, anyone at UTD, just to come out and play video games, have fun. We have high standards for both our athletes and our community. That way, everyone's just having a fun and safe time.
I think we got pretty lucky that UTA is a very diverse campus, and so we try to make it as welcoming as possible. But at the end of the day, it's easy for me to forget, or for anyone who's a leader in esports to forget that the way you see the world and your ideas, they're based on your experience and your upbringing. And being able to have individuals from all kinds of backgrounds, it helps me stay grounded and realize maybe there's a way to make our community and our Discord server, our events, feel more open and friendly that I just can't see because it's not something I consider. So I think working with a wider, diverse team is really important.
Absolutely, and I think you hit on it too, that there's a lot of opportunity for everybody, and esports to me always levels that playing field. Like you said, it doesn't matter, you don't have to be this physical fit, crazy person. I mean, it can really bridge the gap for a lot of folks and help them get connected on campus. I think that community connection and being connected on campus is probably a big benefit of being a part of the program. Would you all agree?
Definitely. And I would like to add that for the actual student leaders on campus and inside the orgs and in the programs, varsity or not, like having more female leaders or just non-male leaders would be a really big boost for having more recruitment of people that aren't just your traditional, stereotypical thought to be gamers. And I've made sure that my student org has a lot of open positions for anybody to join, and we're getting a lot more female student org officers to come in and starting to be like a director positions, and I'm really loving that.
Well, I'm gonna toss the hard one out that everybody always asks, but let's look ahead. Let's look 5-10 years, and oh my gosh, in esports, that's like, what, 20, 50 years? The rapid pace we're moving. Where do you see the programs on your campus? Where do you see it in the collegiate level altogether? And as you think of that, if anybody has some questions, we do have a microphone up here if you want to come on up, and we'll start grabbing some questions after this. But where do y'all see y'all's program 5-10 years from now? And
For UTA, I want UTA to be remembered as a place for everyone. A place where any student can come by and really explore their passions and figure out what they're good at and what they like. And so for the future, I want to see the UTA Esports program expand a lot and just offer more opportunities and more positions for anyone to try out and see if what they like and see if this is something they want to pursue. So I definitely want to just expand like crazy. And for the wider esports scene, I think I touched upon this already. I'd like to see a lot more collaboration. There's some excellent leaders here sitting next to me. I know a lot of them pretty well personally, and I'd love to start working with them a lot more. I think things like the Battle for Texas that happened here in the past September was a really good place to start, because I want to see more regional competition that isn't just for the sake of qualifying for a national. I think it's really great to see all the different clubs come together and just have fun together and get to know each other. Summits like these happening more often around the country and around the globe, really, I think is going to be really important, because it should be our focus to share our ideas and work together.
For UTD specifically, UTD is such an innovative and just a unique university. I want us to be known for esports. We don't have a football team, and truly we're here to try to connect the community, because, so many UTD alumni have landed at fantastic places in the esports and gaming industry, like Blizzard, Envy, and just all around the globe, which is really fascinating. So esports personally, we'd love to be kind of like the school's football team in a sense, where we really are soon going to be able to encourage students to come out to our games, come out to our events, and just be able to have a fun time.
So for UT, I really would love to see all of those not really school pride-oriented students at UT that are kind of swept aside, that don't really want to be invested in the football scene or big sports scenes, to kind of find another place for them to develop a different type of school pride. And for like our superstars that play even on this stage and beat some of the best players in the world, so shout out to Albert for Melee, I want them to be recognized. Like, they have all of these amazing talents, and we have tons and tons of students, like 50,000 students that we could, pick and choose these or not choose, but pick and promote these talented individuals and have them, be a source of school pride.
Yeah, I think school pride, I think, is kind of be the driving force for what we're pushing for here at UNT, to create essentially an athletic-like program that operates in recreational sports. And so creating more infrastructure and support for our teammates, creating more resources for them to get more academic support, and really just kind of create a collegiate athletic type model here in our program over the next 5 years, and just grow it into a program that's not 100% in the red, but actually a program that generates revenue for the university and creates retention and recruitment for our university. And that's kind of the primary drive and directive that I've been tasked with over the next 5 years, is to create a working business model like an athletic program.
Absolutely. I think it's a very exciting time for all of us in these programs to see the rapid growth. So we have a question down front here.
Hello. So my question is, what kind of obstacles did you guys have to overcome in establishing your programs? And did you have to deal with redefining it because of stigma that this is just the same as gaming? So if you could talk to that, I think that'd be helpful.
Absolutely.
I think for sure, for me, I kind of had to double down on that kind of struggle of redefining everything, because I was relatively new to esports when I first came into the organization. And so I even had to define it for myself, is this just playing video games, or what is this really? But I think the more time I spent with UT Esports, the more I realized it's a whole industry, it's a whole culture. There's so many different things that you can do. And I think applying that to the structure that we use at the club it definitely has been difficult, but if you have the right team behind you, it just takes time. And so I think it's important to not get bogged down by the idea of, there's so much we have to do, or, don't get trapped in what's been done in the past. Be willing to be creative, be willing to work with new people and new ideas, and just remember how passionate it makes you, and share that, and, you'll find a way to make it work.
So for UT Dallas specifically, we didn't really have a club beforehand. I actually came into the university as an incoming freshman the semester our athletic team launched. So I joined right on board with Greg, who's our main director and full-time staff at UT Dallas. And really, an obstacle we had overall through our first year is connecting more with the community, because I had a lot of students being like, I don't want to join the Discord because it's just for esports. And esports is a smaller niche, where gaming, people that just have a passion for gaming, is so much more wider. So something we wanted to do is we wanted to not only be known for just being the esports competitive team of the university, but also connecting these students that may not have a care for esports, but may just be interested in gaming, whether they play computer games, PC games, phone games. We just really want to create this wholesome community together. So that was an obstacle we faced, definitely. And to overcome it, we created content creator programs, like our Stream Team program, and we're looking to have more LAN events in the future.
So for UT, I've actually heard, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but there were administrators that were afraid to kind of go full on esports and invest in it, because they were afraid of donors maybe saying, hey, this is not something that I want to be a part of, or want my money to go towards, for these large institutions with lots of rich history. And I want to basically kind of go back to even this previous question. 5 to 10 years, I want to see just more education and how we teach other people what esports is and what its differences are in terms of just not being a purely social thing. It's also a completely new world in terms of industry, in terms of like professionalism, and we kind of need to make sure that education is fully and thoroughly kind of transferred to all these individuals that have no idea what this is. And that was kind of what we're going through right now, and teaching our higher ups what exactly is esports and how to do esports right, in their words.
Absolutely.
As someone who's like, I'm a junior in high school. How do I go into about recruiting? Because I use like a website called Be Recruited, and there are a bunch of colleges that have like or coaches that have followed me. But from what y'all were saying, mostly you guys do internal recruiting just for people that go to your school. So how are y'all going about recruiting incoming freshmen?
We use Be Recruited, but it kind of sparingly. I usually just recommend people to just join our Discord server. And that way you at least get to see what our community looks like. You get to directly interact with our players and decide, one, for you, if our community is a good space for you. Because as much as we want you to come to our university, it has to be a good fit for you as well. And so I think, and I could probably speak to all of us, is that our Discord servers are very much in reflection of the community that we have here. So usually we have them linked on our social channels and all that stuff, and so you can find it there. And usually we'll have various roles. So like if you want to find like a coach, you can find a coach on our Discord server and message them. But yeah, we still do it predominantly through Discord as our recruiting platform.
Great. I think that's a great advice, I think, for everybody to get out there and join. I think it, like you mentioned, it really gives you that purview of what that culture's like on that campus and being a part of it, and is it a correct fit for you overall.
For those that don't know, Discord's kind of like Twitter. It's basically an IRC chat platform that started pretty recently, and it's used heavily by the esports community. And honestly, we use it way more than anything else. Like, Twitter's great for like updates and things like that, and our website's great for rosters, but like Discord's the place to go where you can literally connect with thousands of students on our campuses and everywhere else.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm Ben Swayze. I'm the president of Baylor University's esports program, and frankly, a massive fan of the progress and trailblazing y'all are doing, especially for Texas. My question is regarding, and you've touched on it already, but regarding a growing organization from an internal perspective. So, one of the driving questions that our officer board has is how to advocate esports legitimacy on a campus that's so traditionally invested in sports already. Especially at Baylor, that's something that we struggle with, especially from a private perspective. With a football team and a basketball team, that's where administrations have seen progress and growth. So what steps should our organization be taking to convince or display to administration higher-ups that there is worth in these communities, just from y'all's perspectives?
I would say start tracking your guys' progress. A great way to really show interest is host events and show administration how many students are actually interested in gaming, because there's tons of people that are interested in gaming at any university. So you to just like find all those people, get them together, and then show that to an administration is huge. And then additionally, go from there, like track how many wins you guys have, make sure you guys, and then show like, I guess like all your progress that you've done so far, like even Twitter and everything like that, just all the interest that you've gotten in showing that to administration would be great.
I would say start tracking your. Is this working? I would say start tracking your metrics a lot more. Like just everything you're doing, like you said, just track it. Because like for things like we run events all the time at UTA, being able to show administration like, hey, in September we ran an event that had hundreds of people come by. We had all these sponsors come out. Our email, like a lot of times we'll get emails from high school students who say they want to come to UTA because of what we do at the program. Those kinds of things are really easy ways to show them that, people care about this stuff. And it's like you're already doing these things anyway, might as well just show off the work you've done. So make sure you're keeping track of all the numbers, and, start putting everything you're doing out there more. So using your Twitter, your Discord, whatever, just keep posting about everything you're doing so that you have records to look back on and show them. If you're playing in any competitions like CSL is an easy one for any collegiate organization to get into. If you ever have a streamed match, look at how many people are watching that game. You know, show that to the administration, show them that people care.
Maybe also show them what universities you beat, because I bet you administration, you're like, hey, we beat these like really high-end schools up there, so just saying.
Yeah, and then really quick, look at other Power 5 schools. There's tons and tons of schools that are huge athletic programs that are actually doing things in esports, and it's really, really good to get all those schools in the back of your head to throw them out those numbers and stats to like your administrators to show them what Power 5 schools are doing.
Yeah, and I would say just keep reaching out. The rest of the panel will be here throughout the day. See a lot of people lined up for some more questions as we're running out of time here. So please connect, ask these questions, keep collaborating, because we're all here to help build these programs together. And I'd like to extremely thank Esports Stadium Arlington for what they've done. I think they've really set the tone for esports here and bringing the collegiate level together and even helping build it in the high school. So a round of applause for the Esports Stadium Arlington and what they've done in IGL altogether. Very good. Well, that wraps up our time for our collegiate panel. If you can give us a round of applause for our panelists here, they will be around. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank y'all all for being here.